Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're going to unpack a white paper that shines a light on a hidden but definitely growing crisis for one of Canada's most popular and, most complex companion animals. Okay, let's just dive right in with the single most important number you need to understand this entire issue. 30 to 60 plus years. That's the lifespan of a typical companion parrot. We're not talking about a decade here. We're talking about a multi-generational commitment, often longer than a mortgage.
And right there, that's the core of the problem. It's a fundamental mismatch. Our entire animal welfare system, from vets to shelters, the whole shebang, it's all built for the 10 to 15-year lifespans of dogs and cats. But parrots, they need something completely different. They need lifelong, complex, multi-decade care. So what happens when you have this huge mismatch? Well, you get what the source calls a quiet but accelerating crisis. And it's affecting the third most popular companion animal in the whole country. But it's all happening mostly out of sight, tucked away in private homes and inside really struggling rescue organizations.
And because the system is just so fragmented, the consequences are, they're predictable and they're really damaging. You see parrots bounced from home to home. You see rescues just buckling under the financial and emotional strain. Specialized vet care, it's incredibly hard to find. It's really a recipe for welfare harm.
So this is the crucial point. This isn't just about a few bad owners. Not at all. The paper identifies 7 deep structural mismatches. These are fundamental reasons why the entire system is failing these highly intelligent animals.
The first and most obvious mismatch is just time. We bring a parrot home, and we're thinking in terms of the next few years, right? But that animal will very likely outlive our job, our house, maybe even our own health. And this kind of short-term planning, it inevitably leads to instability and, eventually, surrender.
So the paper proposes a pretty radical shift in how we think about this. What if, from day one, we planned for the parrot's entire life? This would mean using financial models, kind of like insurance, to cover future costs and creating a clear, defined path for them if they ever need to be returned. Next up, there's an environment mismatch. A parrot isn't just a pet. You have to remember, this is a wild prey animal with the intelligence of a human toddler. And a typical living room, it just isn't built to meet its incredibly complex needs for social interaction, foraging, and mental stimulation. So, the hypothesis here is that we can actually bridge this gap. If we embed clear standards for care and enrichment and provide continuous coaching and support to the humans, we could actually transform a typical home into a suitable environment and dramatically improve that animal's welfare. Third is a huge communication mismatch. Look, parrots scream, they bite, they destroy things. For them, a lot of this is just normal behavior. But we humans, we misunderstand it as aggression or malice. And this leads to this tragic cycle of rehoming that only makes the behavior and the animal's stress so much worse. And this suggests another pretty radical shift. Instead of a shelter just washing its hands of an animal after adoption, what if the organization retained ultimate responsibility for that parrot's entire life? They'd provide ongoing support specifically to keep these placements stable. Now, all this instability gets compounded by a serious mismatch in medical capacity. Your local dog and cat vet, they probably don't have the super specialized skills to treat a parrot. Access to real avian vets is really limited, and care often only happens when there's already an emergency. The potential fix here is systemic, it's not individual. By building formal partnerships with the few specialized vets we do have, by standardizing care protocols and centralizing all the records, we could use those limited expert resources way more effectively and actually focus on prevention. Okay, this next one is really interesting. We have a data mismatch. Parrots basically fall into this policy blind spot. They aren't studied as wildlife, but they aren't tracked like typical companion animals either. The result? We can't make good policy because we have no good data. But a new, structured model could totally change that. By tracking every single animal inside the system over its entire life, we could finally generate the long-term data we need to understand the true costs, the health outcomes, and what actually works for these animals. All right, mismatch number 6 is financial, and it is a big one. The traditional rescue model, it's like trying to pay a 60-year mortgage with an unpredictable weekend bake sale. I mean, they're using short-term, volatile donations to fund these multi-decade obligations. It's completely unsustainable.
So this suggests moving away from the donation model, maybe entirely. Instead, you'd price parrot care using stable, predictable actuarial analysis. Think like a pension plan or an insurance policy. It's all about creating financial stability for a lifetime of care.
And finally, there's a human mismatch. The current system runs on the heroic, around-the-clock efforts of just a few dedicated founders. But this path inevitably leads to compassion fatigue, to burnout, and when that founder has to leave, the entire rescue just collapses.
The solution here isn't to find more heroes. It's to build sustainable organizations, to create systems and processes and documentation so that care can be delivered by professional staff, not just through the passion of one single person. It's about making the work itself survivable.
So, after diagnosing these 7 really deep-seated mismatches, the paper proposes testing a single, integrated solution that could address all of them at once, and they call it the Parrot Safety Net.
And this proposed Parrot Safety Net, well, it represents a massive shift on every single level. You're moving from a reactive, unstable model to a planned, evidence-based one. You go from short-term donations to lifelong costing, from transferring responsibility to an adopter to retaining it organizationally, and from just crisis care to real preventative planning.
But, and this is absolutely crucial to understand, this is not being presented as some kind of magic bullet. It's a hypothesis. The paper proposes a 3-year scientific pilot to test these ideas rigorously and gather the data to see if this new model is even viable.
At the end of the day, the paper concludes that what's happening to parrots isn't an accident. It's not the fault of individuals. It is the logical, predictable result of trying to fit a very complex, very long-lived animal into a system that was just never designed for it in the first place.
And that leaves us with a much bigger question, one that goes far beyond just parrots. As we choose to live with animals that are more complex and live longer than ever before, what does our responsibility to them truly look like? What kind of systems do we really owe them?